Welcome to the July edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Lakeshore Players Theatre building. We'll say goodbye to the retiring White Bear Lake School Superintendent, and we'll play some pickleball in Mahtomedi. All that and more is straight ahead on Northeast Journal. Hello everyone and welcome to the July edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Every month on Northeast Journal, we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the northeast section of the Twin Cities. Lakeshore Players Theatre has been an institution in White Bear Lake for decades. Even though their current building has a lot of charm, the theater is tapped out for extra space. After an aggressive fundraising campaign, a groundbreaking ceremony was held recently for a new theater location. Here's some highlights.
Today is an exciting day for Lakeshore Players and really for White Bear Lake and the Northeast Metro. We are breaking ground on the new Hannafel's Performing Arts Center. It is a new state-of-the-art performing arts complex which will have a 249-seat proscenium theater. It will also have a smaller black box theater. It will have rehearsal space, will have a beautiful lobby. It'll be a great community gathering space. It should take about 8 months once we break ground today for it to be completed. So early 2018, our first full season will be the fall of 2018-2019 season.
In the last 3 years, we've raised over $8.1 million to build this Hannafel Performing Arts Center, the future home of Lakeshore Players Theatre and Children's Performing Arts. And we couldn't have raised it without the over 350 donors who came together, most from right here within our greater community, to substantially increase our capacity to enrich, educate, and entertain young and old alike. Many of those donors are here today, so I'll ask for one more round of applause for them.
It's very important. We're a fully developed community, and it's so important we can't always compete with the brand new cities, but the amenities we have to keep: the Y, the library, Center for the Arts, Lakeshore. So it's really important, and it'll be a brand new building, and it'll be all bright, shiny new, and so accessible for people. So it's just all going to be good.
Cup and Cone has been serving ice cream treats to kids of all ages at White Bear Lake for many generations. Producer Mary Klein and photographer Nick Anderson recently visited with the owner of Cup and Cone to find out how involved he is with the community.
The same vision that my grandpa had when he put together this concept of Cup and Cone.
From the outside in, not much has changed at Cup and Cone over the years, including the prices.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, can I have a chocolate K cup?
Anything else for you? 75 cents.
Which may be why customers of this family-owned and operated business have remained loyal for over 4 decades.
Every single time when I come up and there's a big line, I'm actually shocked. Every season, I pray that the customers come back.
And they do return again and again.
We're always here. She said it was really good, yeah.
Rick Johnstone grew up working behind the counter and bought the business from his father in 2009. He's continued his dad's philosophy of giving back.
Sure, anytime we can support young readers, for sure.
The business donates to dozens of schools, community events, and sports teams every year, as well as giving every dollar of a 6-pack ice cream special to the food shelf. And they're proud to show their support for White Bear Lake Public Safety.
My dad's always liked to help out the police and fire for all that they do. Even back in the day, he offered to give away free cones with coupons and have the police pass that out.
John Stone says there's a vibe about Cup and Cone that makes it unique. Maybe the oldies music he plays that fits the look, or maybe the fact he knows many customers by name.
All right, Paul, you need a napkin at all, or all of a sudden it's warm outside?
I do. Every time you come here, you gotta have a napkin.
Or maybe it's the joy he takes in making people smile.
I just feel blessed every day to come and just kind of serve ice cream. How great is that?
Oakdale business leaders and city employees mingled with residents at the annual community picnic. Photographer Brian Henshin has some sights and sounds from this event, which is put on by the City of Oakdale and the Oakdale Area Chamber of Commerce. It's time for a short break. When we come back, we'll talk with Dr. Michael Lovett, who is retiring as the superintendent of the White Bear Lake School District.
Heroes come from small towns.
Our heroes from across the upper Midwest are coming home from wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Only now, some have a new battle to fight: unemployment. Hello, I'm Rocky Lynn, co-founder of Tribute to the Troops.
I'm Sergeant Dejan Farrell.
And I'm Captain Ron Jarvie. A survey of our troops serving overseas found 25% say employment is a major concern for them as they come home.
Right now, the unemployment rate for today's veteran is 12%. That's twice the average of others living here in the heartland.
These service members learn quickly. They have experience with advanced technology and demonstrate teamwork, discipline, and leadership under difficult circumstances.
This year, Tribute to the Troops, the Armed Forces, and the Upper Midwest Emmy Chapter are asking you to hire our today's veterans. Employers, you've seen what these veterans have done for their country. Think what they can do for your business.
To hire today's veteran, visit positivelyminnesota.com/veterans.
Heroes come from small towns.
Extra DWI enforcement is now being served on Minnesota roads. Don't be what you drink.
Welcome back to Northeast Journal. I'm now joined by Dr. Michael Lovett, who is retiring after serving as the superintendent of the White Bear Lake Area School District for the last 9 years. And Dr. Lovett, I want to thank you for joining us once again here on Northeast Journal.
Thank you, Joe. It's good to be here.
I know we had you on, I think, shortly after you took the post, and I've seen you at a number of events over the years. What brought about the decision to hang it up, I guess?
Well, as my wife explains, I'm really just quitting my day job. I have a number of part-time professional responsibilities, but I think there are really a couple factors. First of all, we have 4 children, a granddaughter and our daughter and son-in-law in Denver, and then our sons in New York City, Tampa, and San Francisco. And they've been getting increasingly, I would say, they're making the point more and more that, Dad, you really should be more available. When they ask me to do something so frequently, I've had to say, can we wait for MEA or wait for the summer? So I think it's family driven. The other thought that I realized is that we're at a good point in the district with increasing enrollment, sound financial condition, increasing test scores, and it was really a good time for someone else to take on the responsibility for the next decade or more.
And I imagine, these years probably went by pretty quickly. I know for us it seems like it has been. I remember when your predecessor had retired, and it seemed like, you know, you had just started, and now to look that it's been almost a decade.
It goes very fast. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about schools, because we're so busy every day with students and teachers and working with parents and activities. The school year has a cycle to it. One ends, another one begins, and before we know it, we're close to a decade.
What would you say are some of the highlights throughout your tenure here at in the White Bear Lake School District?
I think for me personally, Joe, I've greatly appreciated the extent to which the community supports our students and staff. It's really quite remarkable. Our business community, our legislators, our elected officials, our communities of faith, our parents, really it's a remarkable community in terms of supporting all families and all children. And I've never seen it to that extent before anywhere I've served.
And it seems like you had that ability to kind of seemingly be everywhere. Like I mentioned, you know, any event we seem to cover in the school district, and even just a lot of community events, as you're looking around to see who's there, it's like, oh, there's a superintendent. So it seemed like you made a concerted effort to, you know, be present.
Right. Well, I try to go wherever I'm invited.
And, you know, it seemed to like you were always very approachable. You know, I'm sure you at any event probably had many parents or students or former students who came up and wanted to chat.
I think that's true, and it's really a remarkably friendly community. Very warm, very engaging, and I've just enjoyed the interaction with every community group, and certainly with students. I think one of the joys of this job is that over the years I can see students grow. So under my watch, the kindergartners are now, my kindergartners of my first year will be going into high school in the fall. Students who graduated this last month were just leaving third grade and getting ready for fourth grade the year I came in. So being able to watch them grow and increase in confidence and poise has really been a wonderful part of the job for me.
Well, there seems like there's some really bright and talented students in this district. I know we get the various newsletters and see things on Facebook, and you know, every week it seems like there's somebody, whether academically or athletically, you know, doing something that's pretty remarkable.
There's a great deal to celebrate, and yes, it's a wonderful story to tell, and we appreciate the extent to which you and the other media outlets have helped us tell that story. It's really quite impressive.
Now I know you had other stops along your way, obviously before this last almost decade here in White Bear Lake. What are some other highlights as you look back on your long career in education?
Well, I think the fact that I've been able to serve in education really in many different places. I graduated from Carleton College in Minnesota, was recruited to teach in New York, outside of New York City, came back. I was a school administrator and assistant principal roles at Hopkins in Forest Lake. For a time I worked at the Department of Education, then in Rosemont, and then for 20 years in Minnetonka before coming here. Every place I worked, I really felt that the schools work best when the whole community is supporting all the students. And schools work best when they're serving all students well. And I think that each place I've been, I've learned things that have helped me in this most recent job.
So what are, you know, pieces of advice you might give to the person who will be the next superintendent?
Well, first of all, Dr. Wayne Kazmierczak is taking over, and I have utmost confidence in him. And I think he already knows most of the things that I would give him for advice. But I think things that we have talked about as being important is, one, be visible. Secondly, build the relationship with all of our publics through transparency and openness. That is, we want to make sure that our community knows that we're using our resources well, our stewardship of our resources. We want them to know how well our students are doing. We want them to know that we're creating opportunities so that all students will be served. That is, from the students who already know some of the things that we have to teach them, how we're going to challenge them every day. For the students who are new to our country or to our community or struggle, what can we do to make sure that they're learning every day? So visibility, transparency, making sure that all students are learning, and being flexible so that our program continues to adapt to meet the needs of every student. Those would be the things that I would suggest.
And I know there's, you know, a lot in this district that you guys are kind of at the forefront with a lot of technological things too. We did a story a couple years ago, I think it might have been at Otter Lake, where students were like Skyping with, or doing like a Google Hangout with kids, I think in Haiti, and you know, to think back to when I was these kids' age, and you know, you maybe had like one computer in the whole school that did some very basic functions, and I mean, I'm sure these kids already know a lot about technology anyway, just on their own, but to see how that's playing a role in the creative and educational ways that these kids are learning through technology.
Well, thank you. That's an important example. I think over the last decade, we've become a regional leader, perhaps a state leader, even beyond that, in how we're using technology to accelerate student learning, to personalize student learning. And when we do that, it means that the adults have to be learners too, because sometimes as adults, we're really immigrants to the digital world. The students are the digital natives, and so all of us are learning together. And sometimes we'll see students using technology in ways that surprise us in terms of how it's helping them learn and really connect what they're learning in school with the world outside of the schools and the world that they're going to be going into. It's really quite remarkable.
You know, one thing you kind of mentioned earlier too was, you know, kind of the growing diverse population, the diversity in the schools, and you know, it seems like White Bear Lake Schools has done a good job with, you know, welcoming in, you know, quite a wide range of people from all over the place.
Our community is really made up of three groups, if you think about it that way. Folks who've been here for a long time, that is fourth and fifth generation families, families who have migrated from other places in the United States, and families who have immigrated from outside. But if you think back 150 years to the 1850s, except for the Native American population who were really here on the shores of White Bear Lake when European settlers came in the 1840s and 1850s, we're all migrants and we're all immigrants. So what we're really doing now is making sure that we're welcoming anyone new who's coming the same way we were welcomed when the earlier generations came. And that's an effort that really belongs to all of us. It's not something that school leaders do, teachers, support staff. I was talking to a bus driver a couple of nights ago, and she described how proud she was to work in White Bear Lake and how we serve all students and all families. And she couldn't stop talking about it. She was a little disappointed because it had been 3 weeks since she had her students on her bus route, and she was looking forward to summer school busing that would occur next week. But she had that sense of pride, and she made the point that I think is important when we think about welcoming. She said, I'm the first staff member that children see every day, and the last one they see when it's time to go say goodbye. And I thought that was powerful because welcoming is really about what we're all doing.
And I know as a parent myself, there is that comfort too when you send your child off, knowing that not only are they safe, but if you have somebody who's caring and friendly and might help cheer them up if they're nervous or down about something, that's, like I said, a tremendous relief and comfort for the parents.
There were a couple of statistics that caught our eye within the last couple of years. We've done some climate surveys of our staff, and one of the really impressive statistics is the overwhelming number of staff members who are proud to be working here and tell us that they tell their friends and other colleagues in other districts how wonderful it is to work here. That's important because in schools we're really mission driven. That is, we're driven by the values that we hold dear to make sure that we're welcoming, that we're supporting students. The other one that was really encouraging to us was the response of a community survey that our school board had commissioned early in May, when 83% of our families, not just families, but our whole community, families with children in school, other community members, 83% gave the school district an A or B grade, and just a really positive sense that we're on the right track in terms of how we're serving our students and in our stewardship with the community and the things that are really valued for the next generation.
And it seems also, just from experiences I've had and families I know, that there's a strong emphasis on even the special education programs and inclusion and making sure that those students are involved with the other students throughout buildings and in programs, and it seems like a lot of even just strides have been made with that over the years.
I think that's true. When you talk about everybody being welcomed, children learn very quickly, are they part of the school community or do they feel separate? In our special ed programs, our programs for students who are struggling, our programs for students who are just learning English, I think are very strong. And it starts with committed staff and but welcoming the students and supporting students is everybody's position, everybody's job. So our special education teachers and our regular education teachers really are on the same page in terms of their desire and efforts to support all students. And then students know that they belong.
And I know, as I said, from firsthand experience, I have a child who's been in some special education programs in this district, and besides the wonderful teachers, even just some of the aides and people like that really do a tremendous job. And a lot of days it's a hard job, but they seem to love what they're doing. And again, huge relief to the parents to know that they have people there that really care and are helping to teach their kids.
I like it when I hear those stories, Joe, and I get around to all of our schools within the last few days of school because something magical happens. For students, they know it's the end of a year, and as much as they're excited about going on to the next year, they know that no school year will ever be quite the same with the relationships they have with their teachers, with their peers. And so especially at the elementary level, there are a lot of tears on that last day. But the tears aren't just the children. The tears are with teachers and support staff, and that sense of belonging together, being part of something that has really been important is so strong. And it really begins with caring.
All right, well, we're kind of running out of time here, but in the remaining couple minutes we have left, is there anything else you'd care to comment on? Any thoughts about what you're hoping to accomplish in your future besides obviously having more time with your own family?
Well, that's a good question. I've written a little bit about that, but I think that what's most important, first of all, is that family time. And for me, it's more of a sabbatical. It's a break of at least 6 months or perhaps a year for me to reflect on what I've done so far in my career, and then to think of how I want to use my time. I do have some part-time professional connections. I teach at the University of Minnesota most semesters. I'm on the general board of the YMCA for the Twin Cities, and I'm especially doing some important work in the international committee there. I'm on the Minnesota Private College Council, and I do some professional writing every month. So I think I have enough that if I add anything else, my family will protest. So in the short run, I think that it is a time for me to take a professional break, to continue doing things that are important, but to try to figure out how I can use what I've learned over the years to contribute in a new way for our students, for our families, and I hope for our community.
And yeah, so it sounds like you have more than enough to keep you busy and out of trouble, hopefully.
Well, we'll see. I know it will be an adjustment. One of the things that I know has been important for me is the daily connection with students. And you've talked about the visibility part, but the visibility is important for a leader, but it's also important to nurture the soul, the spirit of the leader, to see how students are learning, to see what their needs are. And that's always been a part of my work for 47 years. So I have to find out what that's going to look like over the next decade or so, or how many more years I have to engage in professional work.
Well, we appreciate you coming by today, and we wish you the best of luck. And I'm sure something tells me we'll still be seeing you around at some events here in the White Bear area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Good seeing you again, and good luck.
Thank you.
And it's time for another short break. We'll be right back with more of Northeast Journal in just a minute.
You're going to need me. You're going to need all of us. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
It's the most natural thing for me to dance, but I was tripping and I was falling and didn't even know what multiple sclerosis was.
When I perform, I really love connecting with people. It's definitely cool to be able to give someone an experience through virtual reality.
Oh my God. I dream sometimes and I see that.
From your first sunrise to the sunset of life, we are with you through life's journey. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. Visit socialsecurity.gov.
This video produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Welcome back to Northeast Journal. Combine the sports of tennis, badminton, and ping pong, and you'll get an idea of what pickleball is like. The sport is gaining popularity around the country, especially with seniors. We recently met up with some dedicated players in Mahtomedi to get an up-close look at what all the racket is about. A fast-paced racket sport is sweeping the nation. Pickleball, which combines elements of tennis, badminton, and ping pong, is proving to be popular across the Twin Cities, including the Mahtomedi District Education Center. Gary Christensen and his friends are familiar faces at the center every week.
There's 3 of us that play golf during the summer, and that doesn't work so well in the winter. So they had a pickleball clinic, and somebody saw it and said, let's go to that. So we thought, let's find out what it's about, and so we signed up for the clinic, and we've been playing since the end of November.
Community Ed Director Kathy Weiland started getting requests for pickleball and realized the district center had a perfect space for it.
It's a nice use of an existing space and gives people some exercise and gets them into the doors. We like people to come in and use the district facilities, so it's great.
Here's why some of the other regulars love playing pickleball in Mahtomedi.
It's fairly easy to learn. It takes a little, you have to play a lot to get better at it, but it's just, it's hard to take it real seriously. It's just, you just have fun, and it's just kind of a good way. You're active, and we probably get as much exercise laughing when we're playing as we do playing pickleball.
Gets you moving, and at my age, we don't do a lot of that. And so now we're running and stopping, and and that's so good for us at my age anyway. Doing this exercise is just outstanding, I think. It's just fun.
Pickleball can be played as singles or doubles, and the games move quickly. Mahtomedi's Ron Dockery encourages anyone looking to stay active to give it a try.
Just get out and move. It's a fun sport. You don't have to be a super athlete. You don't have to be in super condition. You can play whatever you want to play. And it's a sport that you get gradually into. You can get aggressive if you want, but it's a fun sport for anyone.
Visit the district center in Mahtomedi for more information about pickleball. Other communities in the area, including White Bear Lake and Oakdale, also have courts for pickleball. That's all we have time for on this month's show. Thanks for tuning in, and join us again next month for another edition of Northeast Journal.